Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds, I'm Nerd Steve, and today I'm joined by this fine nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I'm doing good, man. I'm ready to talk about some 5.5 D&D or whatever,
Don't say that word.
whatever,
Don't say that
whatever
word.
this version is. The player
The
Dungeons and Dragons
2024
24. Yeah,
Players Handbook. 2024 Players Handbook.
it is
Uh,
silly. But I feel like we're getting into some like actually something new tonight.
sure.
Like Feats added some some newness to it with the way they were doing things, but this is completely new to 5e. It's a whole nother subsystem that's getting added in. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about the equipment and more specifically the weapon properties that go along with weapon masteries. It's something a little extra that is going to add for you if you're playing martial characters. I feel like if we don't take anything else from this edition, like this is one of the things we'd probably add, just because it's just a little extra fun.
Absolutely. I like having, the options that are here. Now the great part about the 2024 handbook is that, everything is supposed to work with everything else. So if you're using the older material and you want to use the full rule set in its newness, you absolutely can. The only caveat is we don't have an artificer in this book, even though, as Dave pointed out, there is artificer picture right here at the start of the equipment section, which that's somewhat hilarious to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like,
Okay,
hey,
hold it up again,
no,
but pull back a little bit.
sorry.
Right there, and then a little higher. There you go. Yeah.
So it's a great shot. It's got a gnome artificer, battling against the Lord of the Blades, or Lord of Blades, very much Eberron style situation. Totally love the artwork, totally love the vibe of that particular scene, but it's out of place because there's no
I really
artificers
feel
in.
like the Iron Defender chicken just pulls it all together.
Oh, is it not? Is it an Iron Defender chicken or is it like the turret?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It could be either, I suppose. I mean, that looks like an artillerist artificer to me, so that would make sense. But it also that's a very interesting take on the mobile turret. Is
I mean, I like giving players agency if you want to do something different. I mean, heck, when I played a battlesmith, my Iron Defender wasn't even made of iron, so I made mine like a bone construct.
no truth in
So,
advertising anymore. So in this
uh,
section of equipment in chapter 6, we can find coins, weapons, armor, tools, adventuring gear, mounts and vehicles, services, magic items, and crafting equipment, magic and non. Um, all in all, this is actually a better equipment section than the 2014. Like,
100%.
with one minor caveat, I don't see any mention of trinkets anywhere. Not that that's a hard thing to add to your game because they
Right.
didn't really do anything. They're just interesting doodads that your character
So,
started with.
so the thing that I didn't even notice that the trinkets were gone. And while the masteries are a great addition, my favorite section of this is page 220 to page 221, uh, which actually dives into all of your tool proficiencies and gives you straight up, hey, you have this tool proficiency. Here is something you can do. Here is your base DC to make that thing happen. And given how many tool options there are, it took 10 years to get these 2 pages. And
Yeah,
while, yes, you and I did lots of stuff with tools over the course of many different games, for novice GMs who
made a
don't
supplement.
know how to play, it was like, oh, well, you can't do anything with tools because there's no rules for it. Now we finally have rules.
Yeah, which I mean, rules are kind of a double-edged sword, right?
Sure.
Once you define the rules, in a game like this, then you know it does take a little bit of agency away from the GM and put it more into the hands of the players because they can be like on page so and so blah. Um,
Right, but
but it is
this
easier because
as
it's
a
like every time you go to use a tool in my game, you guys are like, what stat do I use? Here it gives a stat. Now, again, as the GM, you can be like, yeah, that's what you would normally use, but for this instance, I'm going to need you to use this stat, right? Which is cool. Also, it gives you, a couple things that you could make from it. Yeah, I don't think it's all inclusive either, but it's enough for you to go, okay, if these things are in here and the player might be like, well, what about this? You can infer, right?
correct.
Um,
And that is what I liked. It is a good stepping off point. It's guidelines for anybody who doesn't know where to start. Again, you and I, no problems in making, tools as players or DMs useful. But for the person who doesn't know, this is a foundation, or at least some kind of, yes, your tool proficiency is no longer a useless part of your character because you can literally do something with it right here off of these pages.
yeah. Well, also too, like the thing that jumped out to me was the way it's organized, right? I like that it's just a block of information. It's straight to the point. It doesn't give like in the 2014 version, it's more like flowery descriptions, not
Mm-hmm.
just all fluff, crunch and not particularly useful. And I feel like most people know what most of these things are. And if you don't, like the Webster's dictionary definition will do fine,
Right.
right? So for like 99% of them. So that's cool. The other thing that I had picked up on as well was the fact that you have scrolls now in regular equipment too.
Yes.
For cantrips and first level spells.
Yeah, 50 gold for a first level spell scroll, not bad. Uh, 30 gold for a cantrip. I gotta say that's fairly pricey.
So Tally says that the trinkets are in there. They're just somewhere else.
All right, well, we're
Page
gonna have to go.
46 and 47. So I just did like you're looking in the book. I've been doing my reading on D&D Beyond, and I actually just did a search, and to me it looked like, oh, that looks like the 2014 entry that it's going to pull up.
Yeah, there is a D100 table, one page, as Tally said, 46, 47.
What is that? Is that an origin section?
Uh, it is just after multi-classing.
Oh, I totally skipped over that because I guess when we did feats, it would have been in there.
It's under creating a character. When you make your characters, you can roll once on the trinket table to gain a tiny trinket, a simple item lightly touched by mystery. The DM might also use this table. It can help stock a room in a dungeon or fill a creature's pockets.
With useless bullshit. Awesome. But yeah, all right. Well, I stand corrected. It is there.
It's there. It's just not with equipment where it should belong. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, nobody's. What else do I got on my notes before we get into the mastery? Um, uh, musket and pistol and the pistol have been added to the weapons list. Um, is I guess that's the only other thing because that was in the DMG before.
Yes, the firearms were not standard player's handbook. Now it looks like they are.
Yeah. So I don't. I think that might be a bone of contention
Make
for some DMs.
I was gonna say, make sure you talk to your DM before you just go ahead and blanket add, because some might not be into that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like all that is pretty. Most of that stuff is basically the same. There's like minor things like, adding the musket and the pistol, which again, that really depends on your GM, whether they're going to whether they have firearms, that level of technology in their world. uh I believe under the there's like there's a couple of weird things I noticed. One, they added airships, which, I guess, more people are playing more like Arcana Punk and Ebron, so that kind of makes sense. But they removed the bit and bridle, which you used to have to pay for. Because I was just like looking at different things. I'm like, whatever. Like, most of that stuff doesn't really matter. The best thing is the fact that you can basically craft stuff now. There's some rules for that. Before, didn't it like cost you the same amount to craft something as it was to just buy it?
Half.
Was it still half?
It was half, but you would build. It was basically took twice the time that it does now because you could do 5 gold a day.
Yeah.
Now it's, I believe, 10. Uh, so that still takes a really long time if you want to make that plate mail. That 1,500 gold. It's 150 days to work 8 hours a day doing. Uh, but yeah.
So anything else stand out to you for like the mundane
So
equipment?
sure. So I was actually going to say that like we get a full 2-page art spread for weapons and a solid page for armor, which from a visual perspective for somebody who could be new to the game, you could literally just look at these things and be like, all right, what speaks to me for inspiration for what does my character look like, to say like what kind of armor do I want to wear, what kind of weapons do I want to wield, again, from just us old hats, we don't need this shit, but for someone who is just coming to the game, this could be very, very pulling you in, very drawing to I like the look of this. I want to be able to do that. And while not everybody says, "Oh, I like the look of that glaive. I want to make a character that uses that." Somebody might, somebody might see something else inside. This is going to be totally how I build my character out from a weapon armor type, and then decide, species and class and background, all from, a single piece of art that we didn't get this quality art in the last book. I mean, to literally devote 3 full pages to art for armor and weapons, that's huge in my book.
So I wanted to look it up real quick, but I guess it takes 6 to 9 months, or over a year for a complex suit of plate armor in real time. So 150 days, so bad, not terrible.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail you. Mike G,
No, no.
you can craft cantrips for 15 gold, from what I saw. Well, sort of. You can make scrolls, but the caveat is, I imagine you'd have to have said cantrip in order to make the scroll. Uh,
Yes.
so so let's take a look at the weapon masteries, because this is some new funness added to the game that, like I said, I don't know how soon we're going to add them, but we're definitely going to be adding them. I guess like whenever you guys want, in my game anyway, whenever you guys want to start
Sure.
kicking them in, we can do that.
Uh, is not going to be anything that's going to affect my character in your game, so that's easy peasy for me.
Yeah, it
um
does affect half the party though.
sure, sure, sure. It's only going to give them more options, but I mean, if you're going to add them to, the players, the monsters are going to start using them too. That's just how that works. But there's 8 different weapon mastery properties. You have cleave, graze, nick, push, sap, slow, topple, and vex. Now, the way the properties work is you have to be proficient in the weapon that you are using, and that weapon has to have that particular mastery, and you have to have access to weapon masteries through your class, correct?
Yes. Which
So the
all the
fighter,
martial style classes except for monk get them.
so fighter, barbarian, paladin, ranger, rogue.
Yes.
All right. So if you're a caster of any kind, short of ranger and paladin, you know you don't get them.
Yeah, not without some multi-classing. But also like multi-classing in this version, if you're thinking about playing a campaign to level 20, right?
Right.
Like that you lose more stuff now, which I like that. I like incentives to single class. I personally believe, although I know many people on the internet will argue with me that I believe single class characters are more powerful. Ultimately, you may have more options as a multi-class, or you may have that one trick you can do, but outside of that, like the overall power doesn't scale when you multi-class.
There are certain things that I feel break that mold, um, and I have I'm going to be completely honest here. I have not looked through the class section at all of this new book yet.
Uh,
I feel action surge is a a 2 level dip into fighter, and any class that is going to be really caring about the number of actions used, uh that is hands down always been a game changing moment.
yeah, I
When
suspect the wording on that is different now.
Mhm.
Like you probably can't use
A spell,
you probably can't use the magic action, right?
right? uh
Action
so
surge, you can push yourself beyond your normal limits for a moment. On your turn, you can take an additional action except the magic action. They're like, yo, you guys throwing 2 fireballs in the same round? Fuck you. Essentially.
yeah, so I mean that's probably gonna continue to be used the way it's been. I mean, like I said, I'm going the other direction for my games. Spells are a resource. Your spell slots are a resource. Use however you can use them to your heart's content, because I don't care.
Right.
Uh,
Once you're out, you're out.
once you're out, you're out. Uh, you know, so I look at it as I've got your way. Um, yeah, but when you look at these things here, it's like, all right, you know, if you, in order to get that 2 level dip, you're not getting that 19th level, you know, uh, you know, uh,
Epic
top
boon.
tier ability and your epic boon. So yeah, you're gonna lose those things to get it. But if you're not playing the game all the way to level 20, it doesn't freaking matter.
Yeah, that's very true. And I will say too, they also like I've only glanced, but it seems like they fixed the capstone abilities. I haven't gone through them all, but we'll see. But anyway, let's take a look. So you got cleave, right? You hit a creature with a melee attack um roll using a weapon that can make a melee attack roll with the weapon against a second creature within 5 feet. So basically you get a second attack. Um and I guess it's gotta be within 5 feet of that first creature you hit. So if you have reach, you got more options. And cleave tends to be something that's going to go with heavy weapons like a halberd.
Yes.
I don't
So
know for sure that
so
is one of
you're
them.
all right. So your cleave is great axe, great sword. Um, and it looks like it.
Oh, snap!
Your glaive gets graze. So basically, if you make an attack and hit, you can cleave into a second creature. Yeah, so you make a second attack as part of the same action, and they just take the weapon's die roll. They don't take your modifier.
Unless
So
you have a negative.
unless it's a negative, yeah,
Yeah,
you're always going to apply your negatives, regardless of circumstances.
and you can only use this once per turn. But um, I imagine if you make an attack of opportunity, which doesn't happen on your turn, you
Yep.
could then cleave as well.
Yes. I would surmise that ability. If you have some way of attacking on somebody else's turn, then you can cleave on your turn and their turn.
which is cool. Digging. Graze is if you miss with your weapon attack, you do your modifier in damage. And you there's no way to increase that, but hey, you're a fighter, action surge with 8 attacks, and you miss them all, you would still do, at that time, let's say you're probably maxed out, you still do like 20 points of damage whiffing.
Uh, if you got 20,
Oh,
uh,
math, so that's a thing, right? 40.
so I attack 8 times. I miss 8 times. Take 40 points of damage.
Not bad. Nick is another great one for the two, is great for dual wielders. Unfortunately, you can only do it with light weapons. But instead of it making an attack as a bonus action, it's just part of your attack action. You can only use this once per turn. So again, I imagine if something allows you to attack on someone else's turn, you could use it again. But not only when I see this, do I say, "Oh, this is an offhand weapon attack." Like weapons of speed, like a scimitar of speed, allowed you to make an extra attack as a bonus action, I believe. Dumb.
Mhm.
I always foregone that anyway. But in this case, you could use it and make it as your regular attack, right?
Right.
So
So this is when you make the extra attack as part of the light property, you can make it as part of the attack action instead. So this would allow you to use your bonus action for something else. So like in the case of, hey, I'm gonna play a uh a barbarian rogue, you could be able to rage, attack twice with your regular hand, and then once with your offhand, all as part of your regular attack action. You don't have to wait until next round in order to get your offhand attack.
I'm completely wrong because of that light property. It means you can't take other things that would normally be a bonus action and turn it into your attack action.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're taking your bonus action attack and freeing that up so that it can be taken part of your attack action. So you're not going to be able to do that on somebody else's turn, because you're
You're not,
not taking
yeah,
the
you're
attack.
not going to be able to do it on someone else's turn. You're not going to be able to do it if something else gives you an extra attack as a bonus action.
Right. It's just taking that bonus action attack and lumping it into the attack action, which is nice to free that up for something else. Uh, yeah, I don't know what all the you want to do it for, but I mean, if the rogue still has all the different cunning action options, like okay, I want to go bloop 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 and then get out of there, sure, disengage. Next up, we have push. Um, it's a pretty standard thing. If you hit a creature with this weapon, you can push a creature up to 10 feet straight away, as long as it's large or smaller. There's no save; it's just shove. Uh, that's absolutely crazy. I think that's definitely gonna happen a lot. And when you've got DMs who are using hazards and the like, I think that one's going to become quite popular to help manipulate a battlefield.
Just seeing something real quick.
So push is connected to your great club, your pike, your warhammer, and a heavy crossbow.
Yeah, you can blast them back once around. I wanted to see if we're not there yet, but I wanted to see if there were any weapons that had the any light weapons that had the Vex property. They appear to be all
Oh,
ranged.
push does not say uh once around.
Oh,
I don't know if that's a typo or not, but push says if you hit a creature with this weapon, you can push the creature up to 10 feet straight away from yourself if it is large or smaller.
yeah. So,
Heavy crossbow fighter.
oh yeah, I do have that in my notes. Push stacks. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Heavy cross, which I actually played one of those. So, especially when you get up there, action surge and push them back 80 feet. How to make your barbarian even angrier than he already was. And then, what if you were to add Battle Master on top of that?
Yeah. Oh, I'll make this be a pushing attack.
Hmm. Yeah, I just want to push him back like 120 feet. You got another battle map? I want to push him onto that. So we what do we got? Sap. Get a creature with this weapon. The creature has disadvantage on its attack roll before the start of your next turn. It's kind of cool. Get some debuffing going on.
It's a debuff, but it's gonna like this is not one that you're gonna be able to stack because like okay, I hit you 4 times,
Yeah,
sure it doesn't you can only use it once a turn. We'd be like, okay, you have disadvantage, you have disadvantage, you have disadvantage. Like you have to
yeah.
spread it out,
It looks
which is not.
like mace, spear, flail, longsword, morning star, war pick. Yeah, I think that's one of my. I think that's one of my least favorites. I mean, not there's anything wrong with it, but
It's not bad, but it's definitely not
as
not up
fun as
there.
some of the other ones.
Right. So if you hit a creature with this slow, if you hit a creature with this weapon and deal damage to it, you can reduce its speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. If the creature is hit more than once by weapons that have this property, the speed reduction doesn't exceed 10 feet. Before I read that, my initial thought pattern was, all right, everybody, how many different slow things can we do? We'll stop them in their tracks.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
nope.
10 feet.
Over the
That's
course
it.
of an entire sequence of initiative rolls, it can reduce it by 10 once. But slow is club, javelin, light crossbow, sling, longbow, and musket. So I was like, all right, let's make team slow. Now you could begin. Okay, I'll use a longbow and you use a heavy crossbow, and we'll keep them back. Keep pushing them back and keep slowing them. To make him not be able to get there.
Topple. If you hit a creature with a weapon, you can force the creature to make a Constitution saving throw DC 8 plus the ability modifier used to make the attack roll, and your proficiency bonus on a failed save. The creature has the prone condition. This is the only one that requires a saving throw.
Indeed. So that is quarterstaff, battle axe, lance, maul, trident. So you know, uh,
But if you get
you know,
multiple attacks, you topple with your first attack. You then get advantage on all your other attacks. If your buddies are standing around them too, they're going to get advantage. So I guess I can kind of see it's
so
why it
you
is.
know,
It's got more far-reaching.
sure. All right. Now I know I love pushing things to absurdity. And when you start, if you've got a very martial party, it's like, all right, I'm in melee with them. I'm going to use a thing, and I topple. So now he's prone. Now I know prone causes disadvantage on ranged attacks, but you then go ahead and push them back, multiple stages, and then the other person hits them with the longbow and slows them. So I was like, okay, now you've got to, stand up. There's half your speed. So okay, your speed was 30, now it's 20. So you got to spend 10 to get up, and then you can only move 10. Meanwhile, I'll push you another 20 next round. You can get to some very serious or very silly and situations if you begin stacking these kinds of things by making a party all about your masteries. Just saying.
Well, yeah, and it's just kind of fun. So Vex is the last one. If you hit the creature with the weapon and deal damage to the creature, you have advantage on your next attack roll against the creature before the end of your next turn. So this one's pretty decent, but you can only really use it every other attack, I guess. Or no, I mean yeah, I guess you could use it every attack. It's just you don't get advantage on the first one.
Right.
Oh, before the end of your next attack. So like round one, you could basically start off the sequence where you're just constantly hitting, getting advantage on your attack rolls. Especially for like a fighter who gets a lot of attacks.
So
Um,
Vex is hand axe, dart, short bow, rapier, short sword, blowgun, hand crossbow, and pistol. Once you hit them, it's just going to keep granting you advantage on your next attack, so long as you attack before the end of your next turn.
yeah. Now this is super useful for the rogue because it means there's a good possibility, especially if you're going to fight with two weapons. Now, as a rogue, you can have two masteries, so you could have Vex and Nick, a weapon that does well. I guess the problem there is not having the light weapon to take full advantage of it, be able to get the
Hmm.
two attacks. But you could definitely still set up a sequence, like especially if you're throwing weapons, you could throw with your offhand and use the bonus action. But by
Right.
doing that, you'd give yourself advantage. Now, granted, I don't know if they still if aim has been incorporated into this edition or not, where you can do that and
Hmm.
guarantee the advantage. But there's
Right.
also limitations with that, like you can't move.
Right. So there's fun things that, anytime you get this new sequence of things of, well, how is this going to play out? How many things have been play tested and figured out? Did they figure out the ways that things could be exploited and do the workaround? Like they saw people coming with slow. It's like, nope, once per initiative sequence. You
Yeah.
can you can it once.
In the chat, they're talking about slowing people down using plant growth on spells. I'm like, I think we did a video on that and combined it with sickening radius.
I think so.
Where you like drop their movement down to like a foot. It takes them forever to get out of the sickening radiance, or basically never because they die there.
Yep. There's a number of, evil combinations that we came up with and that other people came up with that, we've got videos on.
So do you think this
When
is
you
going to lead to like the marshals in the party going, all right, what combinations of of weapons do we want to use now? Because it kind of makes it more relevant, your weapon choice. And I do like that part of it. Like before, it's like, well, how much damage does it do, or what aesthetic am I going for? But here, you're like, oh, what effect do I actually want to add?
I would agree, and I do feel like that becomes that, or that has the capacity to be a new thing for, session zero or for party discussions.
Yeah,
But it also like becomes another thing that, is becomes a talking point of, oh well, in the battle, a new weapon is found, and it's like, oh well, here is a thing that, we hadn't used before, but the bad guy used it to results. Maybe we should give that a try.
yeah,
um but it also opens up the category for, essentially a new magic item property of like, okay, well, this particular longsword, you know you know grants access to the slow mastery. um you know you could just be like, okay, this particular one does this thing. um that's it. Like, whether it
well,
be like that's the only thing it does, like it could grant one or the other. You can use your regular sword. Longsword was um
Sap.
sap. Um, so on each turn you choose, do you want to sap or do you want to slow? Um, or it could just be one of a number of properties depending upon how rare the item you want to make.
No, I
You know,
agree. Like when you started talking about that, like, instantly my mind goes to, yeah, one thing you can do is like whether you have weapon masteries or not, you get the benefit of it. Or more interesting would be that it gives the benefit of a different weapon mastery that that weapon doesn't normally have. And
right.
then, and then, you know, if you have the, and it still has it has the weapons mastery in addition to
Mhm.
the imbued one, so you could use more than one at a time, because none of these are like so crazy. And when you're talking about giving magic items out, like,
Right.
getting an extra attack where you just do the weapon damage, you know at 10th level isn't a big deal, right? Like,
Oh no, my longsword has cleave, so now I'm doing an extra D8 or maybe a D10 to the
yeah.
dude standing to me. Who cares? Like,
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it might be some cool ways. And I wonder if they'll come up with some other weapons with with different masteries.
only time
Or
will tell.
maybe there's some way to work in like masterwork equipment from earlier editions with mastery, or or magic items, or masterwork weapons even that have enhanced masteries, right? Like it is, you like, it builds on whatever the original is.
That's interesting.
So I feel, again, when they first came out with 5e, I felt like there was so many potential, so much potential for how modular the everything was, that they just
Mhm.
never really did anything with.
Sure.
And
Well,
maybe they'll do that now, or maybe they don't want to add that much complexity into the game. I'm not really sure. Um,
Well, I mean that's where third party people come in. Like we noticed that at least for the particular style of game that we were running, hit dice weren't being used. So we made hit dice to heroics to offer characters a chance to, if you were playing like we were and never really using those hit dice, how can you use it? What kind of things can you do, so that you've got a resource that is getting used.
yeah. Also, but that being said, like, and then like after we started messing with that, we saw like other people kind of put out products that were like that. Um, and then um later, when they were putting out the playtest stuff, they started kind of incorporating some stuff that uses hit dice. And now throughout the 2024 PHB, there's definitely some stuff there that wasn't there before, using hit dice, which hopefully they use it more, right? Like, why
Right.
not? Like, it's a resource. If your players want to blow through it or whatever, that's fine. They just won't have access to it. Or maybe in your games, like, you don't rest that much, so you don't have a lot of combat encounters, so you can just do bigger ones.
Right. Right.
So
All right. So
Zargon, yeah,
go
what are you
ahead.
gonna say?
I was gonna say we're more than halfway through. So I wanted to make sure that you guys all, were aware of the things down in the links below, or the description below. The links in the description. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Uh Almost like I've never done this stuff before. So we're gonna be doing some conventions. I don't know whether there's a change in your schedule or not. So do you want to start off with
Sure. All right. So the couple things in the description we'd like you guys to check out. We have a pre-launch page for our Zoo Mafia Kickstarter. Please give it a follow. And when it drops, if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. No big deal there. Um, we also are going to be doing a couple things coming up. The first thing is kind of up in the air. It's a little bit iffy, but even if I'm not going to be there, it's a cool thing and you should check it out anyway. I may be stuck working with mandatory overtime. Yuck. But WÜRMBREW 2024 is October 5th and 6th, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Oh no, that's all Saturday, and then Sunday it's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. You go. There's a link to get tickets. The tickets are free. It doesn't cost anything. It's at Sobel's Obscure Brewery, and that is in Jeannette, PA. I think that's near Pittsburgh. Um, which our friend Brian Cohen will be there. It is for his Vast Grim sci-fi game. So there's games you'll be able to go play. One of the brewers there just really dug Vast Grim, and last year they brewed a beer for it, and this year I think they're brewing two beers for it, like that one and a new one. So that's kind of cool. And there's also a local con going on around there too. If you happen to be at, I think Brian is going to be doing some stuff there as well. So there's ways to connect with him. Is really cool. I may or may not be there. I'm still trying to figure that part out. Also, there's no link in the description or anything, but it's just PAX Unplugged. It is our local con essentially. We go to every year. We'll be there. We'll be running around. Come find us. Fist bumps, handshakes, hugs, whatever. We are there hanging out. We'd love to see you guys. Ted has a book you can sign.
You want to take a picture. You want us to sign a book. If you see me, I absolutely always ask my the people that catch me to sign my book. It's always a fun because so many people have over the years asked me to sign their player's handbook. I'm like, I didn't write this. I wasn't a part of this one. I got a shelf of stuff that I helped help produce now, but that was not me. But whatever. But it's always great to run into fans at conventions. After PAX Unplugged, once we get into 2025, Dave and I are going to be at Page 2, Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. We're gonna be running some games, doing some fun stuff there. Really looking forward to checking out a new con.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. That's the 16th through the 19th. Link in the description. So you go check those things out. So with that, Zargon, it just feels like they reworked the Crusher, Piercer, Slasher feats as weapon masteries. Nah, I think they're different enough, and they still have those feats that basically do the same things they did before. So you could actually combine them and use them together. Spellhawk Press. I'm just hoping players decide to use it before it gets to their turn. Don't mind them using it, but just don't take forever making tactical decisions. Well, I mean, most of them are pretty much like it just happens, right? Like, oh, I'm already fighting. I'm already fighting with two weapons, so now I don't have to use my bonus action. Or, oh, I missed, so I just do this damage instead. Oh, I hit, I get to try and cleave. They're slow, like so they're just gonna happen. They're just gonna happen. It will be up to them to remember. Like, here's the thing, that my character does now.
The great part about it is unless you're fighting with two weapons that are different types of weapons, you're really only going to be operating with one mastery at a time, and almost all of them are it applies once. Like, okay, yeah, Vex is I hit once and now I'm just going to keep giving myself advantage, but that's not an effect for you to worry about applying to the GM. So like whether you're I do a push, I do a trip, I get advantage. It's all little micro transactions that get to keep going.
Yeah.
So it's not super clunky because it's usually just the one thing. So I like that.
Yeah, and I think like only two of them are extra rolls. So Cleave and Topple are the only. I think they're the only extra rolls. So there's that. Um, but you know what I just thought about?
What was that?
You remember all the double weapons from third
Yeah, yeah.
edition? Like work double axe, and the dwarves had what was the dwarves? Theirs was like a battle axe slash spear or something, or was it? And then like the gnomes had like a hammer axe thing. Um, the ones that had vastly different, like a double sword or a double battle axe, those aren't going to matter, right? Unless you wanted to like give them properties that would usually might be a little weird for them, but kind of work
Hmm.
like what is it? The Orcish double axe having the light property assigned to it as well as the Nick mastery,
Right,
so
right,
that you could. It would be like one of the few. Actually, you could probably do it with the double sword too, maybe. But it'd be a way to kind of make those bring those back. But the things that were like vastly different, it would be a way to put two masteries on one weapon, and you get you'd be able to choose when you made an
right,
attack with
right.
it. Now, Spellhawk Presser, if
That,
you go start doing that, then there might be a problem when they have to figure that out. But for the
yeah,
most part, I think it's going to be like, do X, Y happens.
right. Yeah, now you got my brain a whirling on the double weapons and what have you.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that we can build upon and add to the games and make some more interesting things for the martial characters. So, and also tactically, I definitely see combining, like the Battle Master, which is not called the Battle Master anymore. I don't think. I think there might be some fun combos there.
Yeah,
I think what is the I need to know. I need to know what the Battle Master. No, it's still the Battle Master. I thought I don't know. I thought last time we were at the table, somebody was looking at something and they're like, "No, that's the new this." Apparently not.
Battlemaster Champion can help us tonight, and Psy Warrior. Yeah, we got Psy Warrior in the fighter book.
Yeah, there's not too many new ones, but there's a couple. I think next week when we come back, I think it's gonna be time for us to start going into the classes.
Sure, it's
So,
going to be some some serious digestion to make that happen. Um,
but well, we'll do like more of an overview anyway. Spell press, cool, cool. That was mainly worried about. Yeah, that is one of the smoother things that's been added. I will say. I feel like, and just like in general, whether you like the idea of them putting out a new PHB or not, so far the presentation has been much better than the 2014 version as far as just usability.
I would agree. There are some stuff that has that have greatly changed the mechanics that I'm against. But they're small enough that I could just be like, well, I'm just going to go back to the old way for when I run my games. Uh, but they've taken some things where it's like almost from day one we said drinking a potion should be a bonus action, and now that's how it is. Sure,
Mm.
feeding a potion to somebody else is an action, but drinking one is a bonus. So
Yeah, I mean, so many tables were doing that too, especially after Critical Role started doing it too. So that that's a given. Uh, Tally says Sonics is now officially in the base books, which I know you like, Ted. Uh, yeah, but it's just not what it used to be. Like
no,
I
I
guess
mean,
they never figured out how to make a psionicist work. They made they did a couple of play tests on Unearthed Arcana and been like, and then it seems like they just threw their hands in the air and said, we're not doing it.
which I think is a serious loss, because there's a lot of players who absolutely adore psionics, and like if you could just get over that hurdle, that then opens the door to Dark Sun, and Dark Sun
Mm.
is such an amazing world and so vastly different from everything else that's out there, you know. But if you don't have psionics, you can't do Dark Sun. And you can't do, oh, you can play a Psy Warrior, you can play an Aberrant Sorcerer. No, you got to figure it out, like, because is that important?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see
No,
any
I mean
Dark Sun anytime soon.
I mean they had 10 years to to fiddle and fart around and see if they can make psionics happen. And it was what, 3 years ago or more that we had the Scion playtest. Um, and nothing came of it. So that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the hurdle is there. I mean, they did the artificer. I guess the problem is making it usable and differentiating it from the other spellcasters to make it make it feel different somehow.
Right. And I don't know how, like, I, I mean, honestly, back when Nate was a part of Nerdarchy, like, he would have been the one to really sink his teeth into it. And he tried for a while. I believe posts up on the website, um, that he was working on, uh, but if I were to do psionicist, and like, I would want to try and do something, that harkens back to what it was in second edition, but streamlined for five. And I think he went off the deep end and realized he bit more than he could chew. And that's why it never went anywhere. We never, put it in an official, out,
Well, he
PDF
did a
product.
lot. Like he did a lot on it,
Oh yeah,
and
sure. I mean, like I said, there's a whole bunch of posts. Uh, so like, you're more than welcome to go check it out and go see. Hey, you like psionics? Go give Nate's play tests a read through. Uh, Let us know if you want us to try and tackle it. Uh, Wizards seems to have dried up and given up in
oh, so
regards to science.
so WebDM did. Spellhawk Press says, I think WebDM did a pretty decent job in Weird Wastelands. So I guess in their Weird Wastelands book, they have a version of their version of a psionicist.
Okay.
Might have to check it out and see what they got going on over there.
Yeah, I don't particularly have that one, but I could look into it.
We have the technology.
We do.
I haven't heard from them in a long time, and I know Pruitt had stopped. So I don't even know if they're if it's something you can get.
Ah, I don't know.
You know what? They did it through 2C Gaming, so yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, there we go. 2C Gaming, here I come.
Uh, you have to stalk them at PAX Unplugged. They're usually there.
They are indeed. All right, so we're getting down to the wire. Any last things that we want to cover? Any last questions y'all want us to answer? I'll also throw out this question to the fan base. If you haven't really paid attention, I'm back to posting regularly on the website. So if there's things that you want to get my take on, or things that you'd like to have me write about, let me know. We're getting ready to start October, so I'm going to do some Octobery things. I've been, kind of pulling out some of the old 3.5 books, like got Defenders of the Faith here. I did I've been converting some prestige classes into subclasses, just to kind of give some new options.
Maybe you should do an article on Weapon Masters and some
Uh, so
thoughts.
so my thought pattern was to go into the 3.5, pull out all the double weapons, and you know do your take of, oh well, what would they look like in here, and have some fun with weapon masteries, and give that up. So
So, Spellhawk Press, are either of you fans of Tales of the Valiant? So, we're not fans, but we had the like alpha playtest. We were given the alpha playtest. I never even cracked it open. Honestly, when all the whole OGL debacle came about and everyone was launching like their version of 5e but better, I was just kind of like, all right, like everyone's just remaking 5e essentially with some tweaks to it. Um, and of that lot, the only person that was actually going in a different direction, I feel like, is Matt Colville with with their game, and that one I'm intrigued to check out. But the other ones, it's like, okay, like how many versions of Pathfinder and D&D do we really need? Uh, so it gets a bit overwhelming, and nothing really like. And I love the people over at Cobalt Press. I'm friends with quite a few of the people over there. We've done work for them, but literally no one has really put out something that is their clone of 5e where I'm like, oh, I absolutely need this in my life and I have to check that out thus far.
There's nothing bad about it. I've not read it, cover to cover, and I've looked through, and there's some interesting things, and there's some things that, just like 2024, I'm like, I could do without. Uh, but reading through, I'm like, I had a hard time differentiating how is this not just 5e with some tweaks. Um, and that's kind of correlates to what Dave says. Like, I don't need another clone. If I'm just gonna play 5e, I'm just gonna play 5e. Like, while getting books and what have you. I mean, I've supported more 5e Kickstarters than I care to admit.
Hmm.
Uh, like, I do it because I enjoy the products and the inspiration and what have you. But like, all of that stuff is all things that, like, I don't need other books. Like, I run a lot of times where I make shit up for every game that I run. So I don't really, I don't need somebody else's rules. I don't need somebody else's monsters. Um, I've got the foundations to just keep the game going with the stuff that I make up myself.
So heavy metal game master might be a loaded question, but where do you see D&D community going with everyone making their own D&D replacement? Honestly, it's going to splinter the hobby, the community a little bit, but for the most part, there are so many people that aren't online, right? That have no idea what these other things are. To be honest with you, is it going to gnaw at the edges for D&D? Sure, but there are no
Well,
D&D killers out there that I've seen thus far.
to, to be fair, I brought up to some of the gamers that I work with. I'm like, are you paying attention to anybody talking about the new player's handbook? And they're like, what?
There's a new
they had
player's handbook. Yeah.
they had no clue that there was another edition,
Hmm. Yeah. There were
coming out.
one of my OMs is like they got angry about the OGL stuff and whatever, and they switched
Mhm.
to Pathfinder 2E, and I was like, so I seen him like months later. I was like, how's your Pathfinder 2E game going? And he's like, oh, we switched back to 5. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to fight against the brand for one, and there's always just going to be probably more support for it. And then like even like the third party stuff, most of the third party stuff is still going to be for 5e. And I suspect some of these bigger names too, they're going to do their own thing, but eventually I think they're going to shift back and not stop doing their own thing, but like if we're doing Tales of the, or what it is like they're going to try and make their thing as compatible as possible with whatever version of D&D there is. Like Tales
Right.
of the Valiant is probably going to do the same thing. It's not really, from what I did look at, it doesn't look very much different than 5e. Like I think they changed feats to talents, but they're still feats. And there might be some minor tweaks. So, I don't see D&D going anywhere. I mean, and
and
frankly,
and
we probably
I was gonna
wouldn't
say,
switch we wouldn't switch to a D&D clone. We would just play the D&D we like with the books we already have. Like we don't really even need to buy any more stuff, but we tend to anyway. There's just so much, we just have so much with the books that we
right.
already have. We could play forever.
And the other thing is D&D has always been the juggernaut. So regardless of what edition, is on top, there are always going to be people, that are being introduced to the hobby. And some people are going to, come in, oh, well, this is the player's handbook that's out right now. So that's what they get. And some people are going to be, brought in and they're going to play the newest thing. And then they might shift to the older edition or to an older edition or whatever. But there's, plenty of people that will just keep coming into the hobby because like heck, we talked about this, like we got together with some gamers like over a year and a half ago, and they talked about, oh well, we're going to play D&D. Well, we played anything but D&D really. But D&D was synonymous with we're going to play role-playing games, and you know therefore, when you're talking about gaming, D&D is going to stay on top, and whatever the current edition is, that's going to be people's gateway. So it's always going to be around. It's always going to be the biggest, and it's always going to bring more people into the hobby, which is what we all want. I keep trying to have new people check out the game and what have you. I've got a couple people at work that have never played before, and one is signed on to play a game, and the one is still on the fence about whether or not they're gonna come check out the game or not. I keep trying, but it's an amazing thing to do. So bring them all in, and they'll play whatever edition that's gonna happen at the table.
For sure. With that, we will be back here tomorrow night playing some Gamma World, so come hang out with us then. If not, we'll be back next Monday night. So until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.